It started innocently enough, like any regular morning. I was running late, rushing to get ready for work. My apartment was a mess, as usual, with clothes strewn all over the place and dishes piled up in the sink. I had gotten used to the chaos. It's the kind of thing you learn to live with when you're too busy to care about anything beyond the basics. But that day, as I was about to leave for work, I glanced at the hallway mirror on my way out. It wasn't anything special, just a full-length mirror I had bought years ago when I moved in. I never really paid much attention to it, except when I was checking my outfit or brushing my hair. But that morning, something was off. I stopped in my tracks. I had only been looking at the mirror for a few seconds, but there was something wrong with my reflection. It wasn't me. Or at least, it wasn't the version of me I knew. My reflection was slightly off, just enough to make me feel uneasy. The way I was standing, arms crossed, expression tense, it wasn't how I was feeling. I wasn't angry or upset, but my reflection looked like it was. For a moment, I thought I was just seeing things, maybe the result of being half asleep. I shook my head and went on with my day. But over the next few days, things got stranger. Every time I looked into that mirror, I noticed something new. My reflection seemed to move before I did, as though it was anticipating my next move. At first, it was subtle, a slight delay between when I moved and when it moved. But as the days went on, it became more pronounced. My reflection would do things I didn't. Sometimes, it would smile when I didn't, or even frown when I was perfectly content. I tried to ignore it, but it was impossible. The mirror had become a source of constant anxiety. I even considered throwing it out, but something stopped me. Maybe I was too attached to it. Maybe it was a silly superstition, but I couldn't bring myself to get rid of it. Then came the night that changed everything. I had just gotten home from work, exhausted and frustrated with my day. I walked into my apartment, kicked off my shoes, and went straight to the bathroom to wash my face. I barely looked at myself in the mirror, but when I did, my heart skipped a beat. There, in the reflection, I saw something that wasn't possible. My reflection wasn't just mimicking my movements anymore. It was acting on its own. I had stepped away from the sink to grab a towel, but my reflection was still standing there, staring directly at me with an expression I could not recognize. It was no longer a simple mirror image. It was its own entity, alive in a way I couldn't comprehend. It stood there, still and unmoving, except for its eyes, those eyes that stared right through me. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. What is this? I whispered to myself. And then, the reflection did something that made my blood run cold. It smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was a malicious, sinister grin that stretched wider than anything my own face was capable of. It was as if it was taunting me, mocking me for my helplessness. I tried to turn away, but I couldn't. I was drawn to it, like I was in some kind of trance. I wanted to scream, to break free, but I couldn't. My body was locked in place. I was staring at my reflection, but it was no longer me. It was something else. That's when the whispers started. Quiet at first, just faint murmurs, but growing louder with every passing second. "You can't escape," the voice in the reflection whispered. I backed away, trembling, my heart pounding in my chest. "No," I muttered under my breath. "This is just my imagination. It's just a trick of the light." But it wasn't. It couldn't be. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. "You're stuck," it continued. "There's no way out. You belong to me now." I couldn't take it anymore. In a panic, I reached for the door, trying to escape the nightmare that had unfolded before me. But just as I touched the door handle, the reflection in the mirror changed again. It moved. It stepped out of the frame. I felt the room grow cold, the air thick with an oppressive weight. And then, just as suddenly, everything went silent. My reflection, no, it, was standing behind me, its cold, icy fingers brushing against my neck. I turned around, but there was no one there. I stared at the empty room, my mind racing. What had just happened? Was I hallucinating? Was this some kind of nightmare? But when I looked back at the mirror, I saw it again, my reflection, no longer just mimicking my every move. It was alive, a separate entity, and it had crossed over. I couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding in my chest, the sound so loud that I was certain anyone nearby could hear it. I spun around again, desperately hoping to catch sight of the entity that had left the mirror. But there was nothing. The room was silent, eerily still. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. This had to be a dream. Maybe I had been overworked or stressed, and my mind was playing tricks on me. But as I glanced at the mirror once more, I realized that this wasn't something I could explain away. The reflection stood there, perfectly still, just like it had before. But this time, it wasn't just a reflection. It was an entity with its own presence, its own energy. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, and I could feel it watching me, waiting. I stepped closer, cautiously, and hesitated as my hand hovered near the mirror. I didn't want to touch it, didn't want to make any contact. But curiosity and the fear of not knowing what was happening kept me from backing away. The reflection smirked. I recoiled, stumbling back in horror. This wasn't my imagination. It couldn't be. Whatever was standing there, or whatever had taken my place, was real. And it wasn't about to let me go. "What do you want?" I asked, my voice shaking. I was half expecting to hear a response, but nothing came. Then, just as I was about to turn away and run, the voice came again, but this time, it wasn't a whisper. It was louder, clearer, and it filled the entire room. "You think you can escape me, don't you?" I froze, my legs refusing to move. I had no idea how to respond. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of everything, but I couldn't process it all at once. How could I fight against something like this? The reflection in the mirror grinned again, this time with more malice. "You belong to me now," it said, its voice carrying an unnatural authority. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my head, like 1,000 needles piercing my skull all at once. I screamed, dropping to my knees, clutching my temples. The voice in the mirror didn't stop. It kept repeating those same words over and over, drowning out everything else. "You belong to me now." It felt like hours, but in reality, it was only seconds before the pain stopped. I gasped for air, tears streaming down my face, my body trembling uncontrollably. When I looked up, the reflection was gone. The mirror was empty again, as if nothing had happened. But I knew it wasn't over. The feeling of something watching me, of something lurking just beyond the glass, stayed with me. I couldn't escape it. I stumbled back to the couch, my body feeling like lead. I tried to think, to find a way out of this nightmare. What was I supposed to do? Who could I turn to? I grabbed my phone and dialed the number for a therapist I had seen a few times over the past year. I needed help. I needed someone to tell me that this was just a dream, a delusion. But the phone line was dead. No signal, no sound, just a chilling silence. Frustrated, I threw the phone down, my mind spinning. I needed answers. I needed to understand what was happening to me. That's when the next thing happened. The reflection came back, but not in the mirror this time. I turned around, heart racing. There it was, standing in the doorway of the living room, that same twisted grin on its face. The reflection was no longer just an image. It had crossed over, fully manifesting in front of me. It was like looking at a darker, twisted version of myself. It opened its mouth. "You've been avoiding me, haven't you?" it said, its voice sending a cold chill down my spine. I backed away, my legs shaky. "No," I whispered. "I don't know who you are, but I need you to leave." It tilted its head, as if considering my words. "Leave? But you haven't even begun to understand what you're a part of yet." Before I could respond, the reflection reached out with its hand. I could feel the air around me grow cold, as though the temperature had dropped several degrees. I didn't know what it wanted, but I couldn't let it touch me. I turned to run, but my body wouldn't move. I was frozen, trapped in place, just like before. "You can't run, you know," it said, stepping closer, its cold fingers brushing against my skin. "This isn't just about you. It's about me. And you're the key." I felt a sudden wave of nausea wash over me. This couldn't be real. It couldn't be happening. "What do you mean?" I asked, trying to stay calm despite the rising panic in my chest. The reflection smiled again, that same sinister grin. "I am the reflection of everything you've ever feared, everything you've ever hidden from. You think you're in control, but you're not. Not anymore." The room seemed to grow darker, as if the walls themselves were closing in on me. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't move. The reflection's hand hovered inches from my face. "Are you ready to face the truth?" it whispered. I wanted to scream, but no sound came. I could only stare, helplessly, as the reflection reached out to claim me. Everything went black. Not the kind of black when you close your eyes, but a complete erasure of the world. No air, no sound, no time, just me, suspended in void. Then, with a jolt, I opened my eyes. I was no longer in my living room. Instead, I stood in a replica of it. Same furniture, same layout, but off. The colors were muted, the shadows deeper, and the mirror was gone. Replaced by a large, obsidian surface with no reflection at all. Footsteps echoed behind me. I turned. The reflection, my twisted double, stood there. Only now, it wasn't just mimicking me. Its features were exaggerated, almost monstrous. Eyes too wide, smile too sharp, skin pale like candle wax. "You're inside now," it said, circling me like a predator. "Where your truth lives." "I don't belong here," I said, backing away. "This isn't real." "Oh, but it is," it grinned. "This is your reflection. All the parts of you you've buried. The guilt, the fear, the loneliness. You made me." "No," I whispered. "Yes," it said firmly. "Do you remember what you did, Elliot?" Hearing my name in its voice stopped me cold. It stepped closer. "That night, you told yourself it wasn't your fault, that she ran. But deep down, you know." I shook my head violently. "Shut up. She cried your name before the water took her. You watched. You froze. And then you ran." The memory surged like a wave crashing through a dam. Her face, Claire, under the frozen lake, reaching up from beneath the ice. My feet stuck to the dock, paralyzed. I never moved. I never even screamed. I was 16. I turned away, tears falling freely now. I was a kid. "You were a coward," it hissed. "And cowards don't get to hide from what they've done. Not forever." I clenched my fists. "What do you want from me?" The reflection stopped, standing inches from my face. "I want to be you. Permanently. And you can take my place." "No," I said. "No, I won't." "You already are," it whispered. Suddenly, the ground beneath me cracked. The entire world trembled. The walls of the twisted room began to collapse inward. Behind the reflection, a jagged black hole opened, swirling with glass shards and lightless wind. It lunged, but I moved faster. Grabbing the nearest heavy object, a marble clock, I slammed it into its head. It staggered, dazed, and I ran. But where was I running to? The hallway beyond the living room stretched endlessly, each step echoing louder than the last. Lights flickered above. Doors lined the corridor. I threw one open. Inside was my childhood bedroom. Another, my old college dorm. Each room pulled from a different part of my past. It was showing me everything I'd ever lived. Every moment I tried to forget. "You can't run from your past," its voice called from behind. "It is you." I stopped. Breathing heavy, heart pounding, I knew what I had to do. I turned and walked back toward it. "You're right," I said. "I let her die." I froze. I was scared. I hated myself so much that I buried the truth, and you came out of that. The reflection slowed, its form warping slightly. "But I'm not that scared kid anymore," I said, standing tall. "And I won't give you my life. Not anymore." The entity screamed, a horrible, guttural sound that shattered the walls of the corridor like glass. The rooms exploded outward into fragments, and behind me, the obsidian mirror reappeared, tall and gleaming. The reflection lunged, but this time, I didn't run. I grabbed its arm, twisted, and hurled it into the mirror. It crashed through with a thunderous crack, shattering the surface like a pane of ice. Light poured out from the broken glass, blinding and warm. I stepped forward through the collapsing pieces. And then, I woke up, lying on the floor of my living room. The real one. The morning sun filtering through the curtains. The mirror back on the wall, whole and silent. I got up slowly, checking my hands, my face, the room. Everything was normal, but I was not the same. I walked to the mirror. My reflection stared back. Just me. Then, I spoke. "I'm not running anymore." The reflection didn't smirk. It didn't blink. It simply nodded once. And for the first time in years, I felt free.